his people are what?
Above all people,
all races
that are upon the face of the earth.
What nation would teach us that about ourselves? What would be the point in them taking the Bible and saying, this is you and God said you're better than me, but I need you to get out in the cotton field and bring me 400 pounds by 5 o'clock. What people are going to do that? My man, hey, you sharp, I see you. I see you, man. I like that hat, man. Hey, if I ask you your nationality, what would you say?
I don't know. It sounds like a trick question.
Nah, it's not. I'm just asking what race are you? That's all. What race are you?
I know I'm black.
Okay.
I guess that I consider it African American.
African American, cool. Now, what year were you born in?
97.
97. Do you know the year that the term African American was coined? 1986. 1986. Now, you and I would say, are the same people. Would you agree, sis? We're the same people. Everybody standing there right now would be considered by this country so-called African American. But I was born in 1972. So if the term didn't come about until I was 14, then what am I? If we're the same people, what am I? That's the trick. That's what we're reading here. Read that last verse again that you read.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83,
How y'all doing?
in verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel.
So a group of people in the earth took crafty counsel. What would you say crafty counsel would be?
The government.
The government is crafty counsel. Meaning they sat down and had think tanks and put together plots and plans for a particular thing. They took crafty counsel. Go ahead.
Against thy people.
And it says against your people, God. Well, how is it if everybody is a child of God that this verse would say that some people took crafty counsel against God's people? That means God's people and everybody else must not all be the same people. Because they took crafty counsel against your people, oh God. Now, you all right, sis? You all right? Read.
And consulted against thy hidden one.
Now, why would it say, big bro, why would it say consulted? Because that means they took counsel. Why would it say consulted against your hidden one? What does it mean when you consult? Sis, let me ask this question. What does it mean when you consult?
When you consult, you talk about something, you converse on something.
There you go. You go and you talk about it, you have an issue, you table it, and everybody puts in their input, right? So he said that they have consulted what?
Against thy hidden one.
So this is a group of people who took the people who should know that they are the children of God, but they made a plot and said, nope, we're going to make a plan and do what?
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Their consultation was how do we stop them from ever being a nation again? That was their consultation. How do we take this group of people that are God's people and stop them from ever being or knowing that they're God's people again? Read.
That the name of Israel.
That the name of who?
That the name of Israel.
Because God's people are the Israelites. That is a race of people that God called his chosen ones. Right. The word Israel means prince having power with God. You understand? So they took the people that have power with God and said, let's work to hide their identity. Read.
May be no more in remembrance.
But let's make sure that they no longer remember that they are Israel. So that's why I asked you, what is your race? And you said African American. Now sis, do you confer or do you call yourself Negro, Black? What do you call yourself? Uh-oh, she had to take a drink. My God. Woo! Okay, sis, you about to hit me with one.
But I'm a melanated being. That's all I know.
Very good. You don't know, and that's, you know what? That's a very honest answer. Isaiah 1. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. Let me show you something. Because your answer is so biblical that you can't even understand it. Watch this. Read that.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 3.
Because remember what he said. They consulted together with one consent to make sure that God's people, Israel, would no longer know who they are. Read.
The ox knoweth his owner,
A dumb animal that is an ox know who owns him. Read.
and the ass his master's crib.
And they know what land they come from. Read.
But Israel
Uh-huh.
doeth not know.
But Israel, the Israelites, don't know who they come from or what land belongs to them. Read.
My people
Israel, God's people,
doeth not consider.
have you ever considered that you are the children of God? You have considered that. All praises. So let me ask, because when you say that you are a melanated being, there are plenty of melanated beings on earth. The lady that was standing there earlier arguing is Hawaiian. However, she looked like us, but she looked like a light-skinned sister. She's a melanated being. But are you the same race as the Hawaiian? No. So calling yourself a melanated being still means that you fall under this thing, because you don't even consider that this is you in the book. You don't even consider that the God that created the heavens and the earth, the whole purpose for us breathing, waking up, going to sleep, and waking back up again, actually called you his daughter. We don't even consider it. Because then we go into a bunch of other things, like we go into Orishas. We go into the O'Sheas and the Hashuns and the pouring libations and all of these things that you see other people on YouTube doing. But is that what God gave us? No. God gave us a heritage. Guess what that heritage is? The Bible. This is how we conduct our entire lives. Or we're supposed to. How you doing, sis? Sis, should we live according to the Bible? This is how the Bible told us we are going to live. Give me that Deuteronomy chapter 6. Let me show you real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse number 5. Starting verse 4. Deuteronomy 6, chapter 4. Because I want to show you how great God calls his children on earth. And when I say his children, I'm speaking about the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
That's right.
Have we seen the same thing? What's going on with you, big bro? I like that beard, man. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Have we seen the same things that happened to us as so-called black people happen to Hispanics? Hispanics didn't go through that?
Well, yeah.
There you go. Very good. Because Mexicans weren't called Mexicans, they were called Aztecs. How the hell did they all of a sudden become Mexicans? Hernan Cortez went into Mexico in the late 1400s after Columbus went over to Hispaniola, right? But Hernan Cortez and a lot of conquistadors followed him. And they came over to this side of the earth and enslaved the Hispanic people that were already here. So the same thing happened to them. Did the same thing happen to the so-called Native Americans? Yes. So guess what? God said that would happen to his children. Yeah, he giving you good. Same thing happened to the Indians, right? Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me.
So God, this is Moses speaking. He said, the thing that I taught you was not how to twerk. I didn't teach you how to be a baby mama and a baby daddy. I didn't teach you how to just lay down with each other and enjoy it for a little while, join somebody else in, get drunk, high, and YOLO. He said, that's not what I taught you. I taught you what?
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me.
He taught us laws, statutes, and the judgments for breaking them. That's called sin. He taught us how to live by giving us a law. Because we have a law to drive up and down the street, correct? We have a law about whether or not we can buy a drink and take it out into the streets, correct? If we want to carry a gun, we have a law. So God said that he gave us laws to live by, and he called it sin if we broke them. Read.
That ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it.
So wherever we went, God said, I gave you these laws so that you could live by them, no matter where you go. Read.
Keep therefore and do them.
He said, make sure that you continue to do these laws. Read.
For this is your wisdom.
And this is your what?
This is your wisdom.
You see that? God said by us keeping the commandments, that is our wisdom. That's what makes us very spiritual and wise people, by keeping his law. Read.
And your understanding
And our understanding, read.
in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
Now, sis, let me ask you. Do people say that about us today? Surely this is a wise and understanding people. Is that what they say about us today? What they say about us today, bro?
Saying if you started with the QR code. Exact opposite.
The exact opposite. Why? Because God said if we kept the commandments and did them, then they would call us what? Wise. But when we turn from them, now we niggas. Now we African Americans. Now we are Negroes. Now we are Afrocentric. Now we are strictly melanated people. We don't have an exact identity. Because people in India are melanated. Are they our people? No. People in Arabia are melanated. Are they our people? No. So a melanated person doesn't have the understanding that God told them to have. Because you are Israel, sis, not a melanated person. Right. Because remember, Israel means a prince who has power with God. That's your God-given right, sis. You understand? Keep reading.
For what nation is there so great who had God so near unto them as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for?
There you go. Who else is so great? Because the other nations look at us. You know why they lock doors and why they act like us, act so fearful of us, even when we're not doing nothing? Because they recognize a God when they see one.
Right. That's right.
They recognize a God when they see one. We still have that power in us, but it's not activated because we're living against the commandments of God. You understand? We ruled the earth while we walked in the commandments of God. But when we turned from the commandments, what happened? We fell into a slave state. Now we're crushed and oppressed always. Does that make sense to you? Give me 7 and 6. Now watch what it says, what God says about his people. Now, have y'all heard the term equality? Yes? Do you believe, brother, that we should be equal to everybody? You believe in equality?
I believe it should be a form of equality, but at the same time, we don't get nowhere near that. So
there you go. Now, have we ever? It's been over 400 years. Have we ever had any equality in America? No. Let me show you what God said, because this is the trick. Everybody says that this is a white man's book. The white man wrote it. They just gave it to us. Blah 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 blah. Right? So let's see what God says about his people. Read.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art a holy people.
The first thing God said was that the children of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, are holy. The word holy means separate. That's why he said it's a group of people that plotted against your people. Because God's people are separate to him. They're holy to him. Read.
Unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee.
And they are chosen by God. Read.
To be a special people.
And they are special to God. Read.
Unto himself. Above.
Where?
All.
Wait. Where?
Above.
Below.
Above.
Next to.
Above.
Centered around.
Above.
Is the word above equal? No. God said that his people are what?
Above all people.
All races.
That are upon the face of the earth.
What nation would teach us that about ourselves? What would be the point in them taking the Bible and saying This is you, and God said you're better than me, but I need you to get out in the cotton field and bring me 400 pounds by 5 o'clock. What people are going to do that?
Right.
The ones that gave us this face, because the Bible said he looks like this.
That's right.
And what's interesting is, if he looked like this, and this is Jesus the Christ, how did this man die? How was he killed?
By the Romans.
By the Romans, which is who?
These people.
These people. In what fashion? What manner did they use? They hung him.
Bring it up.
What did they do to us and are still doing to us?
They hang us and burn us.
They hang us and burn us. sis. The Bible says you're not melanated, you're special. You're holy. You're above all people on the face of the earth. But you have to understand that you come from the seed of a prince that has power with God. That's right. You are Israel. You are Israel, bro. Now, let me show y'all real quick how I know that you're Israel. Give me Deuteronomy 28. Because are we acting in a godly fashion? Would you say that this is godly, the way that we live on earth right now? Us as a community, do we love our neighbor as ourselves? So we can't love God if we don't love our neighbor. That's scripture, right? Watch what God said. Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 15.
Now this is written, the book of Deuteronomy, by Moses. Read.
But it shall come to pass,
Something's going to happen in the future.
if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
If you don't listen to the Bible is the voice of God. Never believe these pastors that tell you God gave me a word today. If you sow a seed of $1,000, he's going to open the windows of heaven and rain out a blessing that you can't even be able to stand. That's not the word of God. God never said that. God said you're a special people, a holy people above all nations. What church has ever preached that we better than every race on earth? None. Zero. Zilch. Keep reading.
to observe, to do all,
Put emphasis on that word, bro.
to observe,
To observe,
to do,
to do. So God told Israel they must do all
his commandments,
all of the commandments,
and his statutes,
Uh-huh.
which I command thee this day,
Uh-huh.
that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Now let me ask, right here, is a curse a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad.
Curses are bad, right? So God said if Israel would not do what he commanded them to do, he was going to put curses on them. Let me show you the verse that shows how I know you are Israel. 46. The context right now is the curses, correct? So watch what he says about the curses. Read.
Deuteronomy 28 verse 46.
Uh-huh.
And they shall be upon thee.
So what are we talking about right now? What is the they? Curses. And the curses are going to be on you, Israel.
For a sign.
What is the sign used for, big bro? Sis? What is the sign used for? To alert you. If you want to know what street you're on, you look for what? The sign. If you want to know what restaurant you're going to. So a sign is an identifying marker. It identifies things. So the curses are going to be on the children of Israel to identify them. Not to destroy them, but so that people know who they are. Why? Because 6,000 years ago, 6,000 years later, will we know that this is us? No. But with these curses, you're going to know. Read.
And for a wonder.
And for a wonder.
And upon thy seed forever.
And upon your ancestors, because your seed, he carries the seed. If you and he are married and he lays with you, he plants his seed in you, and then you carry his seed and you bring it forth into the earth. You agree with that, big bro? So whatever you plant in her is what that baby is. It wouldn't be called mixed. That makes sense? All right, read. 47. Yeah, now we're going to read the curse.
Verse 47.
Uh-huh.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things.
So because we didn't like to serve God, it was too constraining. Who likes rules? Who likes law? Nobody. But if God said my laws make you holy and put you above all races on earth, then we have to be foolish as hell to not do them no more. Does that make sense? Keep reading.
Therefore shall thy serve thine enemies.
So the Bible said one of these curses to identify Israel is they are going to serve their enemies. Read.
Which the Lord shall sin against thee in hunger
So we got to serve him for food.
and in
We
thirst
have to serve him for water.
and in nakedness.
All of our clothes no longer come from us because we don't own textile mills. We've got to go to them to buy everything that we want to eat, drink, and wear. And God called them his enemies. Read.
In nakedness, in want of all things.
If you want a death certificate, a marriage certificate, a birth certificate, you have to go to who? Which people? Them. And God called them his enemies.
So that's the same as like Esau?
Yes. The Edomites are the so-called European nation. Right? Agreed.
And in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee.
Now I want y'all to see something, because I don't want y'all to think this is exactly. You've been watching, so it's good. Now, if you pull out your phone, big bro, and just type in yoke of iron on Google and hit images, tell me what comes up. Just look up yoke of iron on Google and look at images and tell me what comes up. Because the Bible said that this enemy, once he had you in his control and had you seeking him out for all of your needs, that he would then put a yoke of iron upon your neck. What is a yoke of iron, big bro? There it is. This is written in the Bible. That the children of Israel, a sign as to who they were, is that they would have to go to another people that was their enemies for everything and have yokes of iron on their necks.
That's right.
Keep reading. And he
shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he had destroyed thee.
All right. Now, real quick, big bro. Here's when we were destroyed. In 1863, what is the significance of 1863?
So you can go to our YouTube.
You're smart, sis. You're smart. You know. What's the significance of 1863, big bro? You don't know? Emancipation Proclamation. We were so-called freed from slavery, right? When we got freed from slavery, what do you think the first thing, if we was in our right minds, we should have fought to do? What do you think we would have done? Huh? Okay, we fought for land, but should we have fought for the land under control of our enemies? Or should we have been ready to go back home? Did we fight to go back home? Not at all. We wouldn't even fight to go back home. So when the Bible says that we were destroyed, because all they did was took the shackle off our neck and we didn't run. That's like if you chain a dog to that tree and that chain only lets him go but so far, right? And you do that for about a month or two. After a month or two, you can take that chain off of his neck, and guess what that dog will not do? He will not run off. There you go, big bro. His mind is programmed to stay being an African American, to stay being a nigga, to continue being a melanated being, rather than understanding I'm the children of Israel. You understand? Does that make sense to you? So y'all are Israel. But first, do you accept it? Okay, all praise. Now, which one of these 12 tribes would you say that you come from according to the bloodline of your father? Which one would you say you are? Judah. All praise. You would say Judah too, sis? All praise. Jesus Christ had a mother and a father, both from Judah. He was not made by a ghost. His parents had sex and created him. Right? Nobody's born in earth without sex, so don't get it twisted. What you got? Verse 68. Yeah, go there. Watch this one more.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68.
Because then we're going to read, we see why this happened to us. Why did it happen to us? To show us that we're the chosen people, but also because we left the commandments of God. So he said, if you leave my commandments, I'm going to curse you. Right? All right, read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans lived in the same condition in Egypt. We were slaves. We're the ones that built a majority of the pyramids that we see today. Between the 17th and the 19th dynasty, we built those pyramids, the great ones. All right? So we were slaves in Egypt. But here he's saying, I'm going to send you back into Egypt. Let's see what Egypt means though. Read.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2. I'm the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt,
Read.
out of the house of bondage.
So what does Egypt mean? Bondage. What is another word for bondage, bro? Slavery. Read that again. Deuteronomy 28:68. This time when it says Egypt, replace it with the word slavery. Read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt.
Or what? Slavery.
Again.
Because we were once slaves in Egypt, but he said this time, I'm going to make you slaves. How?
With ships.
I'm going to send you into slavery this time with ships. Who did that happen to? That happened to the Israelites. It did not happen to Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians. That's what we were being called at the time. But God said that this would happen, packed into these ships. If you was up on top of us, and I don't mean to sound gross, but if you was on top of us and we was on this ship for 3 months, once a month there is a particular thing that happens to your body. Right? And if I was laying below you and that time came about, what would happen to me? I would be bloody. This is what they did to us on these ships. Babies were born and dying. People were catching diarrhea. Where was the diarrhea falling? On top of the people below them. There was a ship called Jesus. The interesting thing is they never teach that that ship called Jesus was actually another type of cargo ship before they ever used it as a slave ship. So yes, is it messed up that there was a slave ship called Jesus? Absolutely. But did that have any effect on us? No. See what I'm saying? So there was a ship called Jesus, yes, but it had no effect on us. That was them using psychological warfare against us at this time because they knew that they would write it, bring it back out, and people would be like, see, that's how we know Jesus ain't one of us. It's not real. We're supposed to follow the spirits and the ancestors because we went into slavery on a ship called Jesus. No, that's bullshit. Yeah, they leaked the information. Too bad for them. We took it and ran with it. We're going to teach against it.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone, 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.